Иногда наступает момент, когда нам нужно взять паузу. Паузу от общения, паузу от работы и паузу от социальных сетей. В наш век информация поступает отовсюду, и иногда ее бывает слишком много. Ее слишком много, но есть способ контролировать это. Например, ограничивать поступающую информацию. По этой причине я не использую Инстаграм или другие соцсети, потому что мне уже достаточно информации, которую я получаю извне. И это такая детоксикация в своем роде. И когда мы пользуемся Инстаграмом, мы неизбежно видим всех этих счастливых, идеальных людей. Это идеальная картинка, которая как бы задает этот стандарт, который должен соблюдаться всеми остальными. Посмотри на меня. Я успешный, счастливый человек. Будь как я. Ты что, не как я? Почему? Это постоянное давление, оно заставляет человека делать больше, чем он может. Мы все разные люди. У нас разный объем энергии, данный нам. У нас разный темперамент. Мы, в принципе, все разные. Поэтому у каждого своя скорость. Кто-то медленный, но более упорный. А кто-то загорается и гаснет так же быстро. Иногда у меня много энергии, я могу сделать очень много. Но если я превышу этот лимит данной мне энергии, то у меня случается эмоциональное выгорание. И я могу неделями ничего не делать. Просто потому что не могу. Но намного лучше делать что-то медленно и не давая себе устать или выгореть. Поэтому это не стыдно, и это абсолютно нормально давать себе отдых, когда он нужен. Таким образом, вы можете сами контролировать свою усталость, и это дает гарантии того, что вы будете меньше выгорать, а следовательно, вы будете более продуктивными, то есть на долгий период времени. Мне кажется, это намного более эффективно. Поэтому я не люблю ни на кого смотреть, стараясь повторить то, что делают другие люди, или добиться того, чего добиваются другие люди. У каждого свой путь, у каждого свой характер и темперамент. Каждый должен слушать только себя. Вот такое у нас сегодня предисловие. Before we continue the previous lesson, when we were trying to introduce ourselves, I think we have to talk about some things in Russian language that are different from English or other languages. I mean, what's different in Russian language? Pretty much everything, from alphabet to grammar, but there is some most important things, and before learning Russian, at least you need to have an idea about some of these things. In Russian language, all nouns have a gender. In French or Spanish, nouns also have gender, feminine and masculine, right? And they have an article before it. For example, Spanish, that would be la and el, right? In Russian, we don't have articles like we mentioned previously, but we have endings of nouns. Like you see a noun's ending and you can define a gender like that. I will give you an example. For example, imagine table, car, and sea. Just 3 random nouns, okay? In English, obviously, they don't have any gender, because English doesn't have genders in nouns. But in Russian, table, stol, is masculine. Car, машина, is feminine. And sea, море, is neuter, neutral or neuter. I know that because I'm native, but I know that because of endings of these nouns. So we have 3 genders, right? Let's try to see together which gender are these random items. For example, книга. Книга, book, right? Книга ends with a, and I put it to feminine. I have телефон. Телефон ends with a consonant, so it's a masculine. I have письмо. Письмо ends with o. I put it to neuter. Then I have машина. Машина, car, ends with a, just like книга. So it's feminine. Now let's see. We have дом. Дом ends with a consonant, like телефон, and it's masculine. Зеркало. Зеркало ends with o, like письмо, so I want to put it to neuter. It's neuter. Then we have стул. Стул, consonant, so masculine, just like дом и телефон. Then we have яблоко. Яблоко, письмо, зеркало, both all end with o. So I want to put яблоко to neuter as well, because it is neuter. Okay. What we have left? We have чай. Чай. This letter is a consonant, so it's also masculine. Собака. Собака, dog, ends with a, like книга or машина, so it's feminine. Then we have тарелка, plate, it's also feminine, as you might have guessed. And футболка ends with a, is also feminine. What we missed? We missed вода, also feminine. That's correct. The word яйцо, яблоко, зеркало, письмо, яйцо, egg, goes to neuter. And we have left the word кровать, that ends with a soft sign. We talked about this soft sign and hard sign in first lessons. So if you haven't watched that, you might want to check it out to know what we're talking about here. So кровать ends with a soft sign. I want to put it to feminine this time, but I'm going to explain you why. So these are our nouns, as you can see, followed by some pattern, but it's not that easy. So we can say that masculine nouns end with a consonant, but also they end with a soft sign sometimes. Like I said, кровать was feminine, but sometimes nouns that end with a soft sign can be also masculine. Feminine ends with a, as we saw, sometimes ya, and also a soft sign. And neuter have o and ye in the end. But there is a couple of things we need to remember. When it comes to masculine, we can have some exceptions, such as our male characters Papa, dad, дядя, uncle, дедушка, grandpa. They are surely masculine, right? Sure, they're masculine, 100%, no questions asked. Dad is a man, uncle is a man, grandpa is surely a man, right? In actual real life. But the nouns that we have for this people end with a, which already tells us that it's a feminine noun. So these are exceptions. These are the exceptions. We can have words sometimes that we're 100% sure that that's a masculine, that's a male. But the words, for some reason, they have ending a. We remember and we refer to Papa, Дядя, and Дедушка as they were male, because they are, not if they were. Why it's important to remember, we're gonna find out a bit later. Now I'm going to mention the soft sign thing. A great example for this can be the word day and night. День, ночь. День, day, ночь, night. And they both end with a soft sign. So how am I ever gonna know if it's a feminine or masculine noun if they both end with a soft sign? There is certain system, and I promise you, I found out that this system exists just a few months ago when I was doing a research because I got curious. Before that, I didn't even know that we had this. I swear. I found that system to be very complicated and really unnecessary for beginner. And as I always just say to my students, since I actually give classes for foreigners, I say, when you're a beginner, you are going to meet words that end with a soft sign. They can be masculine or feminine. At this point, you just can remember which one is which. It's not like there is so many words. There is not so many words that end with a soft sign, to be fair. If you need to find out, you can always look in a dictionary, actual dictionary or online dictionary, to just find out the gender of a certain word. And it's really gonna be more than enough for you to get by as a beginner. Later you will just know all these words, as your vocabulary expands. You just know which is which at this point. So I wouldn't worry too much about this, but just so you know, words that end with soft sign can be feminine or masculine, and the only way to find out is just look in the dictionary, because I really don't want to give you that system that I found. It's too crazy and too complex. If you're very curious, you can search for it yourself or ask me in comments. If you're really curious, I'm going to share with you where I found it. I didn't make it. Now, about neuter. So, neuter nouns, they can be normal objects, like we, for example, said apple, mirror, egg, and letter a few slides ago. But also, neuter nouns, they define some abstract concepts. Yes, they mean concepts in Russian usually. For example, the word opinion. Opinion is a concept. It's not something you can touch, right? Or what else? Can't think of anything right now. I probably will write examples on the screen at this point. So, but also we shouldn't forget that Russian language have a lot of words that from French or English or any other origin, and also these words most of the time end up being neuter. So if I said previously that neuter gender nouns end with o and ye, that's not it. We have nouns that have other endings. For example, the word show. It's a show, right? Show. That's not Russian word, right? Show. Taxi, right? Taxi. It's not Russian word. Taxi. And also some nouns like время, time, right? It's a concept. Again, you cannot touch time. So время or имя, name. Basically, you can just remember endings me and ya together. Most likely that's going to be neuter. And some more endings that not so relevant, not so important. That's the most important thing to remember. So if we update our table, masculine, consonant most of the time, as well as soft sign, and at times a or ya. Feminine, a, ya, and soft sign. Neuter, o, ye, sometimes i, sometimes u, and sometimes mya, me-ya together as an ending. Now, why we need to know what gender nouns have, why it's so important. They affect everything else. For example, adjectives. I know we cannot always rely on YouTube or other social media, and I decided to collect emails, make an email list so that I can send you in case of an emergency, in case we can lose each other, since I'm not using any other social media, I'm only here on YouTube. You can maybe subscribe to the updates I will be having, and I can send it over to you, and you can see when the new video is coming out. Or I'm also planning to make a course, and maybe you want to join the course, or there I will give information about how to book a private lesson if you would like to, because some people already leave comments that they wanted a private lesson with me. So all that you will basically learn from the emails I will send. So you can subscribe and be the first to learn all the info. The ending of adjective will change according to a noun that it describes. By adjective, I mean like beautiful, ugly, big, small, thin, thick, tall, short, whatever is an adjective, right? So we have masculine, feminine, and neuter, obviously. And let's take a look at one, which is beautiful. Красивый, красивая, and красивая. Красивая, красивая. Like, it's so subtle, right? These two ones. Like, they almost sound same, so only when it's written you can see the difference. So, красивый is beautiful for masculine, красивая, beautiful for feminine, and красивая, beautiful for neuter. Красивый дом. Красивый дом. Beautiful house. Красивая тарелка. Красивая тарелка. Beautiful plate. Красивое зеркало. Красивое зеркало. Beautiful mirror. Now you know that because you know gender. Or for example, big. Большой дом. Большой дом. Большая тарелка. Большая тарелка. Or большое зеркало. Большое зеркало. Big mirror. So that's why it's very important to know this gender of the noun, so you can put the right ending. It's not only about adjectives, right? It also comes for, works for possessive pronouns like mine, yours. For my house, it will be мой дом. For my plate, it will be моя тарелка. For my mirror, it will be моё зеркало. So as you can see, everything changes because of the gender of a noun. Very important, right? What else is there that you need to know about Russian language? That verbs in Russian language have conjugation. And again, we can mention French or Spanish or any other language where the verb conjugates. I will give you example with the verb speak or talk, говорить. Я говорю, ты говоришь, он, она говорит, мы говорим, вы говорите, они говорят. In English, as you can see, I speak, you speak, he speaks, she speaks. That's the only change we make. We speak, you speak, they speak. Just one. And in Russian, all of it changes. So you have to remember that every verb you will meet will have this conjugation, this change. Why I wouldn't worry too much about it is because usually endings are same for each verb. I mean, we have two groups of verbs, but like both of them, they're gonna be same. You will always remember that мы говорим. In мы there is gonna be m in the end. In ты there is gonna be sh for the most part, right? It's not that difficult as you think it might look. And another thing you need to remember or learn for the first time, we have cases. And the concept of cases is almost impossible to understand as an English speaker. I mean, I cannot even imagine how hard it might be. But we're gonna go through this together, and I will try my best to explain what is cases. So what we call cases. All right, imagine чашка, cup, чашка, стол, table, okay? So the cup's on the table. The cup's on the table, right? You have cup, noun, you have on, this preposition, on, and you have table. On is на, but still we cannot say чашка на стол. Because of the preposition на, стол will change its ending. That's what happens mostly when it comes to cases. When you see a preposition, it affects a following word in a sentence. So we will actually say чашка на столе. Cup, чашка, on, на, стол becomes столе. It's one of the examples I can give you about cases. На affected stol, so it became столе. And in Russian there is 5 cases. You will learn all that. You don't have to worry about it too much. And also, if you noticed, as I told you before, we don't have our articles, we don't have the, we don't have is. We just say cup on table, right? But we change the ending because of the na on. Before it gets too overwhelming, let's just conclude stuff. First of all, nouns have gender in Russian. Adjective of a noun also changes depending on its gender. Okay, we learned that. Verbs have conjugation. And there are 6 cases in Russian, and it makes ending of words change. As you just saw. I say 6 because one of them is the initial one. There is nothing actually, there's no changes actually. Just like we can say that there's 5. That's it, basically. Now that you are aware what difference there are between Russian and English, it will make more sense now when you watch lessons and you learn Russian. You will not have all these questions. And I will always mention that this preposition is this case, and that's why the ending changes, and you can get the idea in the future. I wouldn't worry about it too much. Like, you can really speak Russian without even knowing what cases are. But it better it's better to know, in my opinion. At least you are aware of what's going on, not just blindly remembering the phrase book, which is also fine. I mean, I would do that when I'm learning a language, to be honest, because grammar can be really overwhelming. So there you go. There's a general idea about Russian language. And I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Maybe you learned something, maybe you just repeated something for yourself again. So thank you very much for watching this video. If it was useful, if you liked it, if you didn't like it, let me know in comments. Like this video, subscribe, because I'm only warming up. I started just 1 month ago, and there's more stuff coming very soon. I'm working on it and working really hard. I would appreciate your any opinion and your support or your hate. Just let me know in the comments. So, thanks so much. See you in the next lesson. Пока-пока.